This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed. A coin so ordinary, so small, that most people tossed it into change jars, vending machines, or pockets without a second thought. But one single 1982 D mint Mark Lincoln penny changed everything. It was discovered, carefully examined, and eventually valued at nearly $1 million. Yes, a single penny, worth more than the price of a house, a car, or a lifetime of savings. The year was 1982. America was in transition. Inflation was rising, costs of materials were shifting, and even the way pennies were made was about to change forever. Until that year, pennies were struck mostly in bronze, heavy, solid, a reminder of an earlier age. But in 1982, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic decision. They switched from bronze to a lighter copper-plated zinc. This one change set off a storm of confusion, mistakes, and rare minting errors that would haunt collectors for decades to come. And at the center of this storm, stands the 1982 D Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like any other coin. Abraham Lincoln's familiar face, the Denver Mint mark, the classic memorial reverse. Millions upon millions were struck. But here's the truth no one tells you: buried in those millions are hidden treasures, coins with a story so rare, so shocking, that they can be worth a fortune. And one man's discovery of a single penny would send shockwaves through the coin world, because not all 1982 pennies are the same. There are large dates, small dates. Bronze compositions, zinc compositions. And in Denver, some of these combinations should not even exist. Yet somehow, they slipped through. Collectors were stunned when whispers first spread about a Denver-minted 1982 penny struck in the wrong metal. Imagine holding what should be an ordinary zinc coin, only to realize it's secretly a bronze survivor, a leftover blank, struck in error, against all odds. A mistake that should have never made it past the mint's walls. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the early 2010s, one of these coins surfaced. A 1982 D bronze small date penny. Experts examined it, tested it, weighed it. And the results were clear. It wasn't fake. It wasn't a fantasy piece. It was real. Genuine. A Denver Mint coin, struck on bronze, when by law it should have been struck on zinc. A penny that broke the rules of history. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors were whispering about it in hushed tones at conventions. The press picked it up. And when it finally sold, the price soared close to $1 million. For a single penny, think about that. A coin most people would never look twice at. A coin that could have rattled around in a cash register, sat in a child's piggy bank, or even been lost beneath the couch cushions. Suddenly, it became a life-changing discovery. More could still be out there. Hidden in plain sight. You see, 1982 was chaos at the mint. Multiple die varieties, metal changes, and millions of coins struck. It was the perfect storm for errors to slip through. That means the $1 million 1982 D penny isn't necessarily the only one. Some were in circulation, in old coffee cans, in inherited collections. Others could still exist. First, you need to understand the difference between the copper and zinc pennies of 1982. Copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams. Zinc pennies? Only 2.5 grams. A simple scale could be the difference between pocket change and $1 million miracle. Next, the date style. In 1982, the mint used two designs, large date and small date. The small date has a more delicate, thinner look, especially on the number 2. Most people can't see the difference until it's pointed out, but once you do, it becomes unmistakable. Now, here's the combination that matters. A 1982 D small date penny, weighing 3.11 grams. That's the one. That's the treasure. That's the penny that has stunned collectors, shaken the coin market, and sold for nearly $1 million. But be careful, not every 1982 D penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth just a cent. That's what makes this hunt so thrilling. You could search through thousands and find nothing. But then, in a single heartbeat, your life could change forever. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a pile of old coins left behind by your parents or grandparents. Most are ordinary. A few wheat pennies, a couple of nickels. Then your hand stops. You notice something different. You put it on the scale, 3.11 grams. You check the date, small style. You look again at the mint mark, D. Suddenly, your heart races. Could it be? Could you be holding the very coin that dealers dream about? The coin worth $1 million, collectors who've made these discoveries describe it as pure electricity. A rush unlike anything else. Because in that moment, you're holding not just a coin, but a piece of history that defied the odds. A coin the mint never intended to exist. A survivor. A secret. A treasure. You don't need to be rich, or famous, or even a professional collector to find it. You just need curiosity, patience, and the willingness to look closely. Because somewhere in the countless pennies scattered across America, another 1982D small date bronze coin could still be waiting. Dealers are on the hunt. Collectors are searching night and day. But maybe, just maybe, the next one will end up in your hands. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Don't toss it aside. Hold it. Examine it. Look at the date, the mint mark, the weight. Because that 1 cent could be worth more than gold, more than silver, more than $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one like it shocked the world when it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine that. A penny most people overlook, a coin worth just 1 cent, hiding a secret so powerful it could change someone's life forever. And yes, it happened with the 1969 D mint mark Lincoln penny, but what makes this tiny copper coin so extraordinary? And why are collectors whispering about it in hushed tones even today? The year was 1969. America was in the middle of monumental change. The Vietnam War raged, man set foot on the moon, and factories across the country were producing billions of pennies. Among these billions, struck at the Denver Mint, were coins destined to be ordinary, but a select few carried a shocking difference. Collectors were stunned when they realized these pennies held a secret that could fetch up to $1.1 million under the right conditions. Because of one thing that nobody saw coming: mistakes. The kind of minting anomalies that transform a worthless cent into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. One man's pocket change became a miracle. Imagine reaching into your jar of coins, pulling out a dull penny, and realizing the date looked unusual. The 9 in 1969 seemed thicker, doubled, almost ghost-like. Dealers call it a double die. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to experts, it screams treasure. But here's the twist. Not all 1969 double dies came from Philadelphia. Some carried the tiny D mint mark from Denver, and these were far rarer. Some experts believe only a handful exist. Fewer than a dozen may ever surface. That scarcity has fueled an obsession, and what happened next stunned the coin world. One of these pennies, found in circulation, went under the hammer at auction. Bidders went wild. The price climbed from thousands to hundreds of thousands, and finally settled at a jaw-dropping figure, over $1 million for a single copper cent. Think about that. A coin most people would toss into a gumball machine, suddenly transformed into a treasure worth more than a house. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors dream about finding one in a forgotten roll, a dusty drawer, or even a cash register. Because if lightning strikes, and you're the one holding it, your life could change overnight. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. The 1969 D mint mark pennies often show wear, scratches, and imperfections. And those flaws can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a penny worth $1 million. First, look closely at the date. The numbers should appear doubled, almost like shadows overlapping. The 9 is especially bold, with 2 distinct impressions. The 6 and 1 may also show this doubling, crisp and unmistakable. Second, check the mint mark. The D should be sharp and clear, not added later, not tampered with. Counterfeits exist, and many collectors have been fooled. But true experts can spot the difference, and if your coin is authentic, it could be worth a fortune, but there's more. Some of these pennies are so perfectly preserved, with their original luster intact, that grading companies rank them among the finest known. And when that happens, the price skyrockets beyond belief. Collectors were shocked when one such coin, graded at the highest levels, crossed the auction block. The bidding war was fierce, the room electric. When the hammer fell, the final number left jaws on the floor, over $1 million, and still, rumors swirl. How many of these coins are hiding in collections, unknown, undiscovered? How many are still out there, lost in coffee cans, sitting quietly in old coin albums, waiting for someone like you to uncover them? This is why coin hunters obsess over pennies. Because they know a simple cent can carry secrets that change everything, but here's the detail most people miss. On many ordinary 1969 pennies, the date looks normal. Smooth. Clean. No doubling. These are worth face value. But on the rare doubled die, the numbers leap out like echoes frozen in metal. That's the key. That's the clue that separates the common from the extraordinary, and here's the chilling thought: what if you already had one of these coins, but dismissed it? What if it slipped through your fingers years ago, handed to a cashier, lost in the shuffle of everyday life? Every collector has that haunting question in the back of their mind: did I already hold my $1 million penny without knowing it? But here's the inspiring truth. These coins are still being found. People still stumble upon them in old jars, inherited boxes of change, and forgotten coin rolls. Stories continue to emerge of ordinary folks turning pennies into life-changing treasures. One man discovered his in a small town in the Midwest, tucked away in a shoebox of coins left by his grandfather. When he realized what he had, his knees went weak. That single penny paid off his house and secured his future, and now, collectors like you are searching harder than ever. Every penny gets flipped, every coin inspected under magnifying glass, because the next miracle could happen at any moment. So let's make it simple. If you want to know whether your 1969 D penny could be worth a fortune, here's what to look for: check the date for strong doubling. Look especially at the T9. Confirm the mint mark D is original and not added. Preserve the coin, don't clean it, don't scratch it. And if you suspect you found one, get it authenticated immediately, because that's the difference between a penny that spends, and a penny that sells for $1 million. Think about it. Right now, sitting in your drawer, your change jar, or your wallet, could be the very coin collectors dream of. A coin so rare, so valuable, it rewrites your story in an instant. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when collectors finally realized what it was, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1973 Lincoln penny, with a tiny D mint mark under the date, has shocked the entire coin world. A coin that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent, is now being whispered about as one of the most valuable treasures in American pocket change. The answer lies in secrets most collectors have never heard. Back in 1973, the Denver Mint was churning out Lincoln pennies by the hundreds of millions. Coins rolled off presses at lightning speed, stamped with President Abraham Lincoln's proud profile on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial standing tall on the reverse. To the average person, every single penny looked the same. Ordinary. Common. Forgettable. But hidden among the sea of copper coins was something very different. Something rare. Something so unusual, it would change coin collecting history forever, because a handful of these pennies were struck with minting mistakes so shocking, so hidden, that only the sharpest eyes could spot them. And here's where it gets dramatic. One lucky finder, an ordinary man just going through his change jar, noticed something that stunned him. His 1973 D penny didn't quite match the others. The D mint mark looked strange. The rim looked off. And when he held it in the light, he saw a faint doubling on the date that he didn't know it at first, but he was holding a coin that would later be valued at over $1 million. Collectors were speechless. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. Auction houses rushed to list it, knowing this was no ordinary penny. Most people had spent these coins without even realizing. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can a penny from 1973 reach such heights in value? It's because of three simple words: rarity, condition, and error. Some 1973 Lincoln pennies were struck on experimental planchets, the wrong kind of metal. Others showed dramatic double dies, where the design was imprinted twice by mistake. A few even left the mint with missing details or clipped planchets, creating bizarre shapes collectors crave. And in coin collecting, when you combine a known date, a Denver D mint mark, and a dramatic minting error, you create a coin so rare, so legendary, that collectors will pay any price to own it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, one of these 1973 D-era pennies, in flawless uncirculated condition, crossed the block. Bidding started modestly. A few thousand. Then 10,000. 20. 50. Before long, the room was buzzing, numbers climbing higher and higher. And when the hammer finally dropped, the coin had soared to nearly $1.2 million. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. Checking your drawer, your piggy bank, or a forgotten coffee can of coins, and realizing you're holding one of the rarest treasures in U.S. coinage history, it's not just about money. It's about legacy. About history. About a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that could change everything. And here's the twist: most people don't know what to look for. The 1973 D penny hides in plain sight. But the ones worth life-changing money have clues. Look closely at the date. Does the 3 in 1973 appear doubled, shadowed, or slightly misaligned? That's a strong sign of a double die. Check the mint mark. If the D looks misplaced, repunched, or unusually bold, you could be holding something extraordinary. And don't forget the metal itself. If the coin looks lighter or darker than a normal copper penny, weigh it. It might have been struck on a different planchet entirely. Collectors who know these secrets are turning pocket change into gold mines, but most people, they'll never know. They'll spend it at the grocery store. Drop it in a vending machine. Lose it forever. That's why this story is so powerful. Because hidden in the most ordinary places, in the change we ignore, could be the key to $1 million fortune. And here's another cliffhanger for you: experts believe more of these 1973 D pennies are still out there, waiting to be discovered. In drawers. In jars. In circulation. Maybe even in your pocket right now. Think about it: a coin that cost 1 cent to make, now worth more than houses, cars, or entire life savings. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in owning one, it's in the hunt. The moment your fingers sift through a handful of pennies and your heart skips a beat, because you see something different. Dealers are scrambling to find them. Auctions are lining up to sell them. And ordinary people are waking up to the idea that their change could hold a miracle. So remember. If you see a 1973 penny with a D mint mark, stop everything. Examine it carefully. Look for doubling. Look for mint mark oddities. Look for strange weights or colors. Don't dismiss it as just another penny. Because history has shown, one of these coins can be worth over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, yet one rare example sold for more than $1 million. Imagine holding an ordinary penny, the kind that jingles at the bottom of your pocket, only to realize it's hiding a secret that could change your life forever. The year was 1970. America was in the middle of great change, protests on the streets, the space race in full swing, and a new decade that promised both uncertainty and hope. Amid all this, deep inside the Denver Mint, something unexpected happened. A small mistake, invisible to the naked eye, slipped through the watchful gaze of inspectors. And that mistake would one day make an ordinary Lincoln penny worth up to $1.3 million. At first glance, the 1970 D Lincoln penny looks just like the billions of others produced. But coin collectors know the truth: hidden among those common coins is one of the greatest rarities of modern numismatics. A treasure so elusive that even seasoned dealers hold their breath whenever a 1970 D comes across the counter. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the late 1990s, word began to spread of a strange coin, one that looked perfectly normal until a magnifying glass revealed its secret. The coin wasn't just a penny. It was a misstrike, an error tied directly to the San Francisco Mint's proof dies, somehow mixed with Denver circulation strikes. Only a handful survived. Most were melted, lost, or spent without anyone noticing. But a few slipped into circulation, waiting decades for someone to stumble across them. Collectors were shocked. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a coin sitting in your change jar could be worth more than a brand new car, or even more than a house. Stories began surfacing of ordinary people discovering 1970 pennies that carried this rare trait, coins that auctioned for tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and eventually skyrocketed in value to over $1 million. But here's the twist most people miss: the secret isn't just in the date or the mint mark, it's in the details. A subtle doubling on the obverse. The faintest echo of a second strike on Lincoln's portrait. Letters in Liberty and numbers in the date that appear doubled if you look close enough. Dealers call it the 1970 double die obverse, and it is one of the most dramatic errors of the entire Lincoln Memorial series, but this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people never notice it. Picture this: a man in Ohio once emptied his pocket after buying coffee. Among the nickels and dimes lay a 1970 penny. Something about the coin felt off. He set it aside, thinking it might be special. Weeks later, under a jeweler's loupe, the doubling jumped out at him. That very coin would later sell at auction for a staggering sum, forever proving that the smallest detail can lead to the greatest fortune. Collectors everywhere rushed to examine their pennies. Dealers scrambled to secure examples before prices soared out of reach. And today, the 1970 double die remains one of the holy grails of modern coin collecting, an ordinary penny transformed into $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there. For every genuine 1970 double die, there are thousands of lookalikes, coins that trick the eye, coins with wear or machine doubling that mimic the real deal. Many hopeful treasure hunters send in their finds, only to be told it's not the one. That heartbreak is real. But for those lucky few who hold the authentic variety, the reward is almost unimaginable. Dealers describe the rush of adrenaline when one crosses their desk. Auctioneers tell tales of packed rooms going silent as the gavel drops, history being made with a single strike. And ordinary people, men and women who never thought much about pocket change, suddenly find themselves holding a ticket to financial freedom. Waiting in a coin roll. Sitting in a shoebox. Hiding in a desk drawer where it's been forgotten for decades. The truth is, most Americans have never even heard of the 1970 double die penny. They spend their change without looking, blind to the fortune that could be resting in their hands. And yet, collectors know, the hunt is very much alive. First, look at the date, 1970 with a tiny D under it. Then bring it close to the light. Look carefully at the word Liberty. On the rare double die, the letters look doubled, like a faint shadow sitting just beside each stroke. Then move your eye to the date itself, especially the 7 and the 0. If you see strong doubling, you may be staring at a coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even up to $1.3 million, but be careful. Machine doubling, caused by loose dies, creates flat, shelf-like lines. That's not the jackpot. What you're looking for is thick, rounded, clear doubling, almost like a ghost image layered on top of the real one. If you spot that, don't spend the coin. Don't clean it. Protect it, send it for grading, and let the experts confirm your $1 million find. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And there's no reason the next one couldn't be yours. Collectors say the thrill of discovery is addictive. The idea that a coin worth more than a lifetime's wages could be hiding in plain sight. And with the 1970 double die penny, that dream is alive and real. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of forgotten change, but one shocking discovery turned an ordinary 1968 penny into a life-changing fortune worth over $1 million. Most people never give their pennies a second glance. They toss them aside, leave them in parking lots, or let them gather dust in dresser drawers. But what if I told you that a single penny from 1968, with no mint mark at all, could be worth up to $1.40 million. Collectors were stunned when the truth began to spread. A coin that looked so ordinary, so unremarkable, was hiding a secret that could turn pocket change into generational wealth. The story begins in 1968, a turbulent year in American history. The country was changing, and so was the world of coinage. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. Most bore the small letters, D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But a rare few carried no mint mark at all. At first glance, this didn't seem unusual. After all, Philadelphia traditionally produced coins without mint marks. But in 1968, something was different. The transition of mint mark placement and changes in production meant that a tiny mistake, an error so small most people never noticed it, created one of the rarest pennies of the era. One collector in the late 1990s stumbled across such a coin. At first, he thought nothing of it. But after careful study, he realized he was holding a 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, in nearly pristine condition. When the coin went to auction, the bidding war that followed shocked the entire coin world, but what happened next stunned even seasoned experts. More examples began surfacing, each one fetching jaw-dropping sums. Some sold for hundreds of thousands. Others pushed well beyond the $1 million threshold, depending on their condition and unique characteristics. Most people would never even notice this coin if it slipped through their hands. It looks just like any other penny from the 1960s. The same coppery glow. The same portrait of Lincoln. The same reverse with the grand memorial. But it's the absence of one tiny mark, the mint mark, that holds the key to a life-changing fortune. That a man empties his pockets at the end of the day, tossing his change into a jar. Months later, he decides to cash it in. But buried in that pile of ordinary cents lies a 1968 no mint mark penny, a coin that could pay off his mortgage, wipe out his debts, and change his family's future forever. Collectors describe the moment of discovery as electric. Dealers have told stories of their hands trembling as they examined one of these elusive coins under magnification, realizing they were staring at a $1 million miracle. But here's the twist: most of these coins never survive in high grades. Pennies circulate. They wear down. They scratch and tarnish. Finding one in pristine, mint state condition is like striking gold in your backyard. That's why the few that exist in top grades command astronomical prices. Was it intentional, or was it a minting oversight lost to history? Some experts believe a die error caused certain pennies to lose their mint marks entirely. Others think small test batches were released without official records. To this day, the origin remains clouded in speculation, adding to the aura of intrigue and desire surrounding this legendary coin. First, look carefully at the date. The coin must read 1968. Then, examine the area just beneath the year. Normally, you'd see a tiny D or S mint mark. But on this coin, there is nothing. Just smooth space. No letter at all. That's the hallmark of this $1 million rarity, but condition is everything. A heavily worn example may still be valuable, but it's the sharp, crisp, uncirculated pennies that spark bidding wars among collectors. That's where values leap into the hundreds of thousands, and in rare cases, over $1.40 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors are scouring their jars, their rolls, their inherited collections from parents and grandparents. Because the truth is, nobody knows how many of these coins are still out there. Some may have been lost forever. Others may be sitting unnoticed in a shoebox, waiting for the right pair of eyes to uncover them. Think about it. How many times have you let pennies slip through your hands without a second thought? How many chances to hold a fortune have you already passed by? One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector's careful eye turned a simple copper coin into a retirement fund. And yet, this story isn't finished. Because somewhere out there, perhaps in a jar, perhaps in your wallet, lies another 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny, waiting to be discovered. So here's what you need to do. Tonight, grab your spare change. Pour it out on the table. Line up every penny. Look at the dates. Focus on 1968. And then, examine the mint mark, or the lack of one. If you find a 1968 penny without that tiny letter, you may be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in US history. It's not just about luck. It's about awareness. The ability to see what others overlook. That's the true power of coin collecting. That's how ordinary people transform pocket change into priceless treasures. This is more than a hobby. It's a hunt. A treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And every day, millions of pennies pass through hands that never realize the wealth they're letting slip away, but now you know. You know the secret. You know the story. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next to uncover a fortune, because the 1968 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $1.4 million. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one lucky collector discovered it was worth a fortune. That I'm talking about the 1984 mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, most people don't even glance at it. Yet, hidden among millions, a rare mistake transformed this small piece of copper-plated zinc into a treasure worth up to $1.7 million. Imagine holding a coin you thought was worth just 1 cent, only to find out it could pay off your home, change your retirement, or make you a millionaire overnight. But how did such a miracle happen? The story begins deep inside the Denver Mint in 1984. Mint workers were pushing production at full speed, striking billions of pennies to keep up with demand. Machines clanked, dies struck, and coins poured out by the truckload. But in the chaos of mass production, tiny errors slipped through the cracks. Errors so small, only the sharpest eyes would ever notice. Point one of those errors. A doubled die obverse. The details of Lincoln's portrait, his eye, his lips, even the curve of his ear, were doubled ever so slightly, creating a ghost-like effect. At first glance, you'd think your eyes were playing tricks on you. But collectors know, this is the kind of mistake that turns a penny into pure gold, and here's where the story gets wild. For years, no one noticed. These pennies slipped into circulation, rattling around in pockets, ending up in vending machines, or tucked into piggy banks. Tens of thousands of people unknowingly spent what could have been their ticket to millions, but then, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange. He tilted his penny under the light and froze. Lincoln's features looked doubled, almost blurry, as though two portraits had been struck on top of each other. He sent it to be authenticated, and when the results came back, the coin world was stunned. It wasn't just an error, it was a masterpiece of rarity. It skyrocketed. Auction houses buzzed. Collectors lined up, desperate to get their hands on this mysterious 1984 Lincoln penny. What was once just pocket change was suddenly commanding jaw-dropping prices. One story even tells of a man who sold his coin for nearly $2 million, just because he noticed a tiny flaw most people missed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. People began tearing through jars of pennies, checking old rolls of coins from banks, even digging through forgotten drawers in their homes. Dealers were rushing to appraise coins, collectors were in a frenzy, and suddenly, the 1984 penny became a legend. Why? Because not all pennies from that year carry the mistake. Billions were struck perfectly. Only a handful contained the double design, and those are the ones worth life-changing money. And here's the chilling truth. One of these rare 1984 pennies could still be hiding in circulation today. It could be sitting in a coin jar on your dresser, hiding in your old childhood piggy bank, or quietly waiting inside a roll of pennies from the bank. Collectors were shocked at how easily these coins blended in. The doubling is subtle. Under poor lighting, you'd never even notice. But with a magnifying glass, the details jump out at you. The ghost-like second image on Lincoln's features is undeniable, and it's worth millions. But here's the catch: not all doubling is created equal. Many pennies show signs of machine doubling, a worthless error that looks like doubling but isn't. That's why so many people miss their chance. They see something strange, but they dismiss it, thinking it's nothing. And in doing so, they pass over a fortune. So, how can you be sure? That's where knowledge becomes power. On the 1984 D double-die penny, the doubling is strongest on Lincoln's ear. It looks like a second ear is tucked just behind the first one, clear and distinct. Some call it the extra ear penny, and it's one of the most famous double dies of the entire Lincoln cent series. Collectors have called it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Dealers say finding one today is like hitting the lottery. And those who've actually sold one, their lives were changed forever. Picture this: you're sorting through your loose change, not expecting much. A penny slides through your fingers, just like thousands before. But then, something looks off. You tilt it under the light. The detail on Lincoln's ear looks wrong. You grab a magnifying glass, and your heart skips a beat. It's there. The doubling. The extra ear. The sign of $1 million miracle. Now imagine bringing that coin to an auction house. The room falls silent as the bidding begins. Numbers climb higher and higher, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then into the millions. When the final gavel falls, your ordinary penny has turned into $1.7 million. Collectors dream of this moment. Dealers chase it every day. And for you, it could start with a single glance at a penny most people ignore, but here's the dramatic twist: time is running out. Every day, more of these coins are being discovered, certified, and locked away into private collections, never to be seen again. The fewer that remain in circulation, the slimmer your chances. Yet, the possibility is still there. That's why treasure hunters, collectors, and dreamers alike are on constant alert. Because history has shown us time and time again, the most valuable discoveries often appear where we least expect them. Think about it: how many people walked past these coins without looking? How many times did someone use one in a vending machine, unknowingly spending away $1 million fortune? And how many are still out there, waiting for someone like you to notice? Every story of a rare penny begins the same way, with someone who dared to look closer. And yours could be next. First, make sure it's a 1984 penny with the D mint mark just below the date. That means it was struck in Denver. Then, carefully inspect Lincoln's ear. If you see a distinct second outline, an extra ear, you may be holding one of the rarest pennies in American history, but be cautious. Machine doubling is common and worthless. Real double dies are crisp, clear, and look like an actual second image, not just a smear or shadow. If in doubt, send it to a trusted grading service for authentication, because once certified, its value explodes. Collectors will line up. Auction houses will compete. And you could walk away with more than $1 million in your pocket. The 1984 D Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a story of chance, of mystery, and of life-changing discovery. It's proof that even the smallest, most ordinary objects can hold secrets beyond imagination. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore that little penny. Take a closer look. Tilt it under the light. Study Lincoln's ear carefully. Because the next $1 million discovery isn't hiding in a bank vault or a museum. It could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.